I made a TikTok about, I think it was this like being a stay-at-home parent and wanting a break from your job as a stay-at-home parent. And of course, I love to video reply to comments that I get. So someone left a comment and I forget what it was. I don't even remember what his comment was, but I remember thinking about his comment and it was bothering me because it bothers me that people have that viewpoint that like, you're just staying home with kids. I'm outside of the house working, making money. And so it's like they're not putting any value on the parent's role of staying home and raising children. And it's not seen as something that is difficult. And it is incredibly difficult. I've had many different jobs, did my PhD, like I've done difficult things, and staying home with my son in quarantine was very difficult. So it bothers me when people just are kind of like flippant about it and like, oh, big deal. So I remember it was like 4 a.m. and I had woken up, couldn't fall back asleep. And I'm like ruminating about his comment. And I'm like, how should I reply to this? Like, I don't just want to do like a typical reply where I'm just talking. So I was like, I'm going to use Legos and I'm going to like, set the scene and explain what's going on. So Spider-Man was the stay-at-home parent. Ernie worked outside the house. And it was the idea that Ernie goes to work. He probably has breaks. He, eats his lunch. He's talking with other adults all day while Spider-Man is at home, just taking care of the child, like no breaks. You can't go pee by yourself. You're struggling to get them to nap. It's like ongoing nonstop. And so when Ernie comes back from work, and let's not forget about the commute, because that was something like my husband's in quarantine, his drive to work was 25 minutes long, like there and back. And I'm like, wow, an hour to sit in the car and like listen to a podcast. Like that was a dream in quarantine life. So Ernie comes back from work and, says hello, like gives Spider-Man a kiss, whatever. And then just like beelines to start cutting the grass or washing the cars, doing something that on paper is productive. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, now Spider-Man is not getting a break at all from his job that he's been doing 24/7. And so that was explaining what the default parent is, like this idea that the other parent can, even though it's productive things. And, I'm not saying the other parent is off playing video games because that's not acceptable either. But the idea that even though they're doing productive things, you're not giving the other parent or like your partner a break from their job, which is taking care of the kids. Like people used to wonder why I would get so irritated on Saturday morning during quarantine when my husband would start making this big like pancake breakfast. And they're like, oh, poor you, your husband's making breakfast on Saturday morning. Cause on paper that looks great. And maybe some people are looking at that and they're like, oh, my husband goes and plays video games. Well, that's not acceptable either, Mm-hmm. But the whole thing was I had been watching Milo like a hawk all week. And finally it's Saturday morning. And I would like to just sit and have my coffee without having to watch him and entertain him. But if my husband goes off and starts making a pancake, 3-course freaking breakfast, now I'm back stuck doing what I'm doing or what I have been doing all week. So that was kind of like, I could talk, like, I just go on rants. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, I think it's good because like, as you say, like your initial, like TikTok, people are like leaving comments because they don't get it or they don't want to get it. Mm-hmm. And so I think, no, you make a good point because it's needing that, we talk about self-care for moms or alone time for moms. And that's that perfect example of where like, if you were able to go off and do your own thing for a little bit while your husband then, took on time with your son, because that's a good point. It's like, even when both parents are home, a lot of times the children will go towards mom. It's that funny thing where it's like, well, isn't your dad right there? But you go to your mom.